Welcome back, it's me, Lou. I'm here for another action figure unboxing and review, and today we are featuring Groot from the upcoming Thor Love and Thunder movie. This action figure belongs to the Marvel Legends series, and it looks really cool. So let's get started. So, my first impressions of the figure when I saw this is that, we've gotten a couple of younger Groot figures in the past. This one appears to be slightly taller. I apologize, I forgot to bring some of the older figures with me during this review, so I don't really have anything to compare to right now. But at the very least, I could present this to you, and you could judge for yourself whether or not this is something you need. If you're all about the Build-A-Figure Korg, which looks amazing right here, this is definitely a purchase. In the wave, you'll need to purchase at least 6 of the 7 figures. All the figures but Thor lack a Build-A-Figure piece. Alright, so let's take this guy out. First off, the package design looks great. The figure is kind of very thin and waifish, and when you see it in the display, all you see is a lot of accessories. You have the giant torso for Korg. You have the extending, I think this is like the Vine Whip arm for Groot, the Ravager rifle, and then he comes with a trigger hand. Excellent illustration, and on the side, or on the back, another illustration, and it just simply says "I am Groot" in the bio, which is fun. Alright, so let's pop this guy open. To be honest, I think of all the figures in this wave, this is the one I'm probably least excited about, just because, like I said earlier, we've received a couple of younger Groots in the past. I think there was the 3-pack with Rocket, Groot, and One-Eyed Thor. Some of the budget waves had Groot figures also. So this isn't the first time we've gotten Teenage Groot, but like I said, this is Teenage Groot, so I think he's a little bit taller than the previous one. There's another accessory I failed to point out here. There's the extended Vine fingers. So at the very least, let's take a look at Groot, the rifle. Let's get the trigger finger hand out, and let's take out the Vine Whip at least. And if you're curious, here's the Build-A-Figure piece for Korg. It looks awesome. The detailing on this is really, really nice. Alright, so I was about to be lazy and kind of frugal because I wasn't fully on board with buying all the figures in the wave. I thought they looked great, and I really did want the Korg figure. And I was like kicking myself for not buying the previous release of Korg in the 2-pack. Especially at one point in time, I believe the price on that dropped to only maybe $25 to $30 on sale on Amazon at one point, a couple years ago. And I regretted it ever since, because I think since the movie's coming out, the first release of Korg is going for a lot more money. And I was also just contemplating getting the giant 12-inch Titan Hero Korg, and it's like chopping the legs down just to bring it in scale with the 6-inch figures, but it'll probably look really stupid. But yeah, this piece looks great. I'm really excited to put this together. I have all the figures. It's just a matter of me just taking the time out to unbox everything, and I'll probably shoot a video on that. But yeah, here's it up close. Lots and lots of beautiful detail. It's surprisingly a bit smaller than I thought it would be. In all honesty, I thought the Korg Build-A-Figure, I haven't assembled it yet, but I kind of thought this would be a bulkier torso. It seems like it's big, but it's not as big as I hoped. Alright, so let's take a look at Groot. Here's his rifle. Very sci-fi in design, much like the other weapons that we've received with some of the Guardian figures. Here's his extended vine whip hand. The detailing's nice. Different shades, so you have the light brown for the branch, and then you have a little bit of green for like vines. And I believe this is the trigger finger hand, as you can see here. And I'm going to swap that out right now. Let's get that out. I think that's the hand I'm going to go with. And you just simply plug it in. There's the socket, and then here's the peg. It's kind of small. It goes in. Now let's take a look at Groot up close. Yeah, the sculpting on the face, it's nice. He looks slightly older than the previous figure, and he definitely looks a little bit taller than the previous figure as well. The detailing, it's as nice as it is. It's a little bit soft for my taste in certain areas. It seems like, I think it's also because the plastic feels a little bit, I don't want to say it's softer than what I was expecting. So I think generally with plastics, the harder and more rigid the plastic, I think the sharper the cuts and sculpting can be. The softer the plastic, you know, the softer the sculpting will be. And in this case, it's kind of like a nice in between. But in certain areas, I kind of feel like the sculpting with the wood grain kind of blends in certain areas, and it looks a little bit more muddy than crisp. But overall, it's really well done. Nice attention to detail. Yeah, there's a nice fine grain wood texture throughout, especially on his face. You can kind of see all the small cracks. If you're a customizer, I think this figure would benefit greatly from applying like a wash. If you applied a wash to it, all the ink would probably like seep into the crevices, and it'd like really bring out the detail even further. And afterwards, you could probably dry brush, you know, with a lighter shade to bring out, you know, even more detail. Articulation wise, this guy's head rotates. Does he look down? Wow, this one really looks down. That's awesome. Does he look up? Yeah, looks up pretty well. He kind of has the one thing I like about this figure is that his posture, it's very like grumpy teenager. You know, he's kind of slouching a little, his head's kind of leaning forward, you know, much like when you're around this age, everything bothers you, you're always annoyed, you know, you kind of just go through life just being bitter and angry. And I think, I haven't seen the movie yet, but just the posture of the figure alone kind of conveys that. His arms rotate. They go out only so far because the top here hits the shoulder. Elbow bend. Right there. Elbow swivel. His legs kick out about that much. They kick out sideways, so he can super kick. Yeah, elbow bend, elbow swivel, articulated wrist. There is no waist cut, but there is a cut mid-torso, so he can swivel, rock a little. Doesn't want to crunch forward, doesn't want to arch back. There is no thigh cut, so there's no thigh swivel, but there's a knee, single jointed knee, and then knee swivel. And articulated feet. And let's get the rifle in hand. The nice thing with his fingers being so soft, and this kind of being a softer plastic, you know, the fingers move out easy, so it's easy to like position them properly and get the finger into the trigger guard. You know, like with some action figures, I hate it when the fist or the hand is so stiff that you can't wrap it around the weapon. But in this case, it's pretty easy for the most part. And then you have Groot. Let's get him the rifle in hand. Right, this arm. Right, so one thing I'm finding with the arm is that it only bends so far. You only get like a less than a 90-degree angle, or in some cases, since it's only single jointed, you're not going to have like a full range of movement. So if you're like really big into action figure photography, or if you really enjoy posing your figures in your display, you know, the limit of articulation of the arms might bother you a little bit. As you can see here, I can't get him to hold a pose 100%, but that's all right. And he doesn't want to focus on my camera. There you go. Yeah, so there's Groot. Looks great. Let's take a look at swapping out his hand with the Vine whip extension. And that's awesome also. You know, I think if he was a couple years older, he might be old enough to date Poison Ivy. And they could hang out. Yeah, so that's neat. Alright, so how do I rate this figure on a scale of 1 to 10? My first impression was probably an 8. I think for me personally, it's a fantastic looking figure. But I kind of feel that, you know, with some of the limits in his articulation, it kind of hurts the figure just a little bit. You know, for me, it's kind of like I would expect a figure as waifish and as thin as it is to have more, you know, points of articulation, or at least more range of movement. But for the fact that it only has like, you know, a 1-point elbow bend right there, kind of limits it. Likewise, there's no thigh cut. You know, you do get a knee swivel, but I kind of feel like in some cases that, you know, this figure would benefit a lot more if they gave it, you know, just a couple of more cuts. You know, maybe like a waist swivel, maybe a butterfly joint in the arms. Especially with Groot, you know, this guy's sticks and twigs and branches and stuff. You'd figure that he'd have a lot more range of motion and look a little bit more fluid. So yeah, but overall it's a great figure. So far, I think for the Thor line, you're only getting Star-Lord and Groot. I'm sure in time they'll probably give us updated versions of the Guardians. You know, probably if they're retaining the same look for the next Guardians movie, you know, then I think then we'll see, you know, like Drax and Nebula and Mantis. But yeah, overall solid figure, great effort. So yeah, I think it's well worth the purchase, especially if you want the Build-A-Figure piece for Korg. Alright, so wrapping this video up, once again, my name is Lou. If you're new to my channel, welcome. If you're a returning subscriber or viewer, thank you so much for your support. So, until the next video, be safe, take care of yourself, buy lots of toys, and most importantly, be happy. And I'll see you at the next one. Alright, later.